Heyo everybody, Huntley Cycle Co. Welcome back to the channel, and this is the video that I've been waiting for. It is time to start throwing upgrades at our brand new, to me, Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 2025. So the latest and greatest motorcycle that we could get used, of course. As you can see, I have all sorts of goodies we're going to be throwing at this thing because I have an awesome trip coming up. It's going to be my longest ride yet, and this is the bike that I chose to get me to the location that I need to get to. Where am I going? Spokane, Washington. Got some family out there. We're going to get this thing set up to go 2,000 miles there and 2,000 miles home. Never ridden that far before, so this should go well. I don't know. Anyway, we got tires. As you can see, these stock tires just are not going to handle the terrain that we're going to be throwing at this bike. They're fine, but we're going with these puppies instead. These are Shinkos. This is the E805, and I believe the other one's the E804. Anyway, it's the front variant. Comes in a package. Pick these babies up, relatively cheap, and we're going to be throwing these tires on. Before I move on to the rest of the parts that I got for the bike, I do want to mention the whole point of this video is to see what can a guy do on a budget with a budget adventure bike. Can we go budget adventure bike riding? And I think that's what we can do. So you're going to see I splurged in a couple areas, and you're going to see I cheaped out in a couple areas. So let me show you what else I got, and then I'll show you what's already been done to the bike from the previous owner and maybe one or two things I've added myself. All right, so starting up, I ordered a Seat Concepts seat for this guy. I've already put enough miles on this bike to know that the stock seat is terrible. Can't stand it, won't do anything with it. So this is one of my splurge items, I guess you can say. I did not order the back foam and cover kit. I just did the front because the back, I'm not worried about it. I'm not carrying a passenger. It's going to be just fine. So next up, we got handguards from Royal Enfield. Not sure where that came from. So we got Royal Enfield handguards that are going to be going on. I also got a fuse panel, so I can wire extra lighting, and that's actually where this comes into play. So I got my fuse panel for this wireless anti-vibration phone charger / phone mount that's going to sit right up back behind the windscreen here. To keep my phone charged up while I ride, and then obviously anti-vibration. All of the directions pop up on the Himalayan itself, and I can show you more of that later, or perhaps in a different video when we actually set off to do the trip. But it'll be super nice to have my phone at my fingertips in case something goes wrong or whatever. Next up, we have a gear lever. This is the adjustable folding gear level from Auto and Gina. This thing's pretty nice. It's actually pretty stout. This was pretty expensive. This was kind of this was not an intended splurge item. You can get Honda CR300L shift levers for these bikes, and they fit perfectly. But I discovered that after I'd ordered this. So this was like $200 almost. So didn't intend to splurge on it, but that's what we ended up with. I found out that the bars on this bike are very similar setup to the TW200s for the most part. So I found that Bradley risers that work on a Yamaha TW200 will work on this bike. So I got some nice forged risers. So we're going to slap those guys on today. This says Himalayan 450. Well, it just says Himalayan folding mirrors. These are the new folding mirrors that I picked up. These are just a really cheap folding mirror kit. Good reviews on Amazon. A lot of these parts I got on Amazon, funny enough. Just so obviously we could just kind of get this done, you know, without spending an arm and a leg. What is this? This is a passenger backrest and sissy bar. Oh yeah. I wanted a passenger backrest for this. I'm gonna make one. This is just the pad itself, and then it comes with metal brackets inside with riv nuts in them that you can actually screw to. But I'm going to make my own sissy bar kind of backrest for this, because my wife is going to ride on this bike at some point, and I figured it would be a good anchor point to strap a duffel bag across the back, and I can anchor it to the sissy bar, so that way we don't lose our stuff while going down the road. So, and then finally, this is kind of one of the bits that I'm most excited about, is this is a Rally engine guard in skid plate. So this thing will obviously replace the factory skid plate, which on this side is metal, but if you look over here, the rest of it's plastic. And I'm sure it's adequate for the riding that I'm going to be doing, but you know, when I'm out in there and all it takes is for one rock to get kicked up at my bottom end, break something, and then I'm in the middle of the woods by myself. So don't want that to happen. So I kind of another little splurge item there, just as a kind of a means of protection. Now let me explain a couple of things that the bike came with and then I added myself. So the bike, first of all, I should say, if you missed the video of me picking this bike up, I went down to Iowa. I found a guy down there who had a decent price on it, and I just had to pick it up. Got it for $4,700. These bikes normally out the door are around $7,000. So my goal is to take this bike and to budget build it basically enough to where it's going to do everything I need it to do, no more, no less, get me there safely and somewhat comfortably. There might be some misery sprinkled in here and there, but that's all right. So anyway, so when I got the bike, he had already done a upgraded carbon racing tinted windscreen for it. Nice touch, pretty cool. It definitely does help with the wind quite a bit, so nice touch on his end there. When I got the bike also, it came with these Givy monolock or monokey side pannier racks. It didn't come with any bags. He never ordered bags for it. He just put the Givy racks on it. I think he bought the racks thinking that at some point in the future, he was going to buy hard cases for it, and he just never got around to it and just ended up selling the bike. These bags are actually off of my TW200, and I do intend to use these on my trip out there. They expand out way farther out and way taller than this. This is just kind of their compressed form right now. These are made by a little company called Rhino Walk. I'm pretty sure they're just Chinese and they're cheap, but I ran these things out in the Black Hills in the very first YouTube video I ever did, and these things were excellent. They did very good. They're waterproof. They have a full waterproof liner inside, and they have a ton of straps on them, so you can hook them up literally wherever you want, and they're quick disconnect. You just pull this little ribbon here, and then this whole latching system pops off, and then of course unbuckle a couple other things, and boom, they all pop right off. Super simple, super fast. So those are things that I added. The only other thing I think I did to this thing was I took the mirrors off of it already because I think one of them was already kind of messed up. If you go back and watch my other video, I did explain that one of them was kind of scratched up a little bit. So I just took them off, and before I parked the bike, I've been accruing parts for this bike for months. I bought this bike, I think, last November of 25. It is now March of 26, and I finally got everything I need to get this thing pretty much ready to go for the trip. It's going to need a couple little extras, but I'll go over all the extras and stuff a little later in the video as we kind of wrap up. Golly, this thing's going to be freaking sweet. I'm super excited to get this thing dialed in, and it is going to be awesome. So in this video, I am not going to go over the installation of all these items unless I find something quirky or weird or anything like that. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of bang through getting all this stuff installed, and from there. So yeah, I will check back in a little bit. If I find something, I will pop in and let you know. Otherwise, let's get this thing freaking upgraded so we can get this thing to travel 2,000 miles. And I'll talk a little more about the road trip and stuff later as well. But yeah, this is going to be freaking epic. I mean, look at that. I can imagine all that stuff on there now. Let's get to it. Okay, we are on the lift and ready to go. Gonna go ahead and start getting these parts all pulled and installed. I forgot to mention too, earlier when I was talking about what I had all ordered for it, I also had ordered a larger foot pad for the kickstand, the side kickstand. One of the issues with these Himalayans, these new ones, is that the side stands are not, they're too short. So when the bike's on its side stand, it leans over like really far, and it's really awkward. And if you're ever off-road, you have to like park your bike a certain way so it doesn't tip over. Luckily, Royal Enfield, luckily these things come factory with a center stand, but still kind of annoying and everything. So yeah, I'll show that obviously later in the follow-up aspect of it, but I'm gonna go ahead and get started on throwing some of these parts on. Got a real quick update here. I went ahead and threw this kickstand pad on. This thing's pretty sweet. This is kind of what I was telling you about earlier. I actually had a hard time finding it. It was sitting on one of my shelves somewhere. But this thing's pretty neat. It's just got a little rubber piece that sits down inside here that kind of pinches in between. Plate that screws down on the top. And as you can see, it's quite a bit thicker. This guy will help with surface area and also help prop the bike up a little bit more too. When it's parked. So a lot of guys on Amazon said when they put the kickstand up, it makes contact with their swing arm. I know some of these Himalayans are all kind of welded slightly different. I'm sure in time, as this swing arm moves up and down, it's probably going to contact, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. It's awfully close to my center stand. I mean, you could barely fit a hair off a gnat's ass between that gap right there, but it just clears. So the other thing I wanted to bring up too is I just got these Bradleys installed, and boy, are these things freaking sweet. So these are the machined ones. They got two different kinds. You can either get the cast or the CNC'd. I've always bought the CNC'd ones because they're only a little bit more, and they look sweet. They're really nice quality. The only problem I ran into is that since these are made for a TW200, they normally have an insert in here that takes it from a 7/8 to, I believe, an 1.25 inch, something like that. And so I took the spacers out of the top here and I moved them down to here. They look kind of funny, but that isn't the issue. The issue is that if when you're sitting on the bike, if you crank on these, left or right, you see how that's moving? These are actually, I have these things snugged up pretty good. They're actually sliding in there. So that's not going to work. I do have a solution for this problem. I didn't anticipate it, but I just so happen to have these laying around. These are aluminum bar shims that take it from do the exact same thing as what the ones with the Bradleys came with. They take it from a 7/8 to an 1.25 inch, something like that. And these have teeth on them, so these will actually bite a little bit better. So we're going to go ahead and use these. The reason why I didn't use these initially was because they're a little smaller than the Bradleys. So the Bradleys, I was hoping they're wider, so I was hoping that with that extra surface area, it wouldn't slide like that. But unfortunately, with it doing that, we're going to have to put these in instead. These are aluminum too, so these will crush a little bit, so I was a little worried about that, but I don't know. I think I'm going to give them a shot and see what I come up with. Here's the new skid plate. It's nothing fancy. It's literally just an aluminum skid plate. It says Royal Enfield on it. This is a Royal Enfield brand, obviously. It's pretty thin. I mean, It's stamped basically. You know, some people might argue it's not very good protection, but I don't intend to freaking skid this thing over logs or anything. And then obviously here's the engine guards. You got one side, other, blah, blah, blah. Those get hooked on. Next, here's the mirrors. Take one of these out of the bag. Those are what those look like. So you can see they thread in on the bottom. And then you got a quick adjustment here. You can move everything. If you fall down, it can bend like that. And then you can go back and readjust it however you want. So those will be a nice touch as well. So, but I'm going to get those parts swapped back out. Otherwise, the height is literally perfect. It's exactly what I want. I can stand straight up on the entire bike. And I can just have my arms completely straight down like this. So while I'm standing, I don't have to, you know, slouch over or anything like that to reach the bars now, which is super nice. So something that my old Himalayan had that this one didn't, and it was something that I missed, so we're doing it to this one. Anyway, gonna keep moving here. Okay, guys, the freaking front end is dang near done. I just got to put the skid plate on yet. Not a huge deal. Working on that right now and just kind of getting everything sorted out. But I decided to keep the fender. Makes good canvas for sticker bombing. So, I think it looks kind of slick. Makes it look like I'm actually sponsored. I'm not. But I like the idea of it. Hand guards went on pretty smooth for the most part. They're a little goofy, not going to lie. Well, the left side's fine, but the right side, the reservoir had to get moved kind of a funny way. And now my brake lever kind of rubs in there a little bit. It's not crazy about that. I could see why people get shorter levers, but I don't know. It'll work just fine for now. I'm not too worried about it. Folding mirrors went on good. Got the wireless charger all hooked up. So now there's a little button down here you press on the side. And then a little blue light comes on. And then this wireless charging pad is activated. Shut it off to do that. And then there is a USB. It's kind of hard to see with the light. But there's USB Type-C that sits up here. And then I have another USB Type-C down here. So I have two ways of being able to charge stuff while I go down the road, which is going to be super big. Might even actually utilize one of these Type-Cs, and I might run a cord down underneath the tank and back here where I can run it up into like my duffel bag or my trunk bag, or run it into the saddle bag, and I might set it up to where I can charge like power banks or whatever while I ride as well. So that way I don't have to have like a bunch of junk all mounted up front. Keep it clean, keep it simple, and prevent stuff from falling and doing weird crap while I'm trying to go down the road at 65, 70 miles an hour. So yeah, making awesome progress. Get started on this. Go ahead and get started on the skid plate real quick. Boy, I don't think we're going to get the tires today. It's already going on 2, 3 o'clock or something like that. But I mean, just got just about everything else done. So yeah. And then one last thing, I guess. Oh, we swapped the seat out. Got the Seat Concept seat on. So that'd be pretty slick. I just went with the standard height. I didn't go to the tall. I'm 6'2". And I guess everybody was kind of saying if you're 6'2" or like shorter, go with the standard height. If you're like 6'4" or taller, go with the tall height. So I just went with the standard one, and it actually, Seat Concept sells the entire seat now. Whereas like a few months ago when I was looking at these, they only sold the cover and the foam, but now it's the whole pan and everything. Fully adjustable still, so you could still adjust this up and down. So if I want it taller, I have room to make it taller underneath by just moving a couple little pieces. So very slick. And then this fuse block that I ordered online, unfortunately, is really bulky. I mean, if you look, this is my hand. I have a pretty big hand. It's pretty large. It's pretty thick. I cannot find an adequate spot within the bike to put it. So I'm either going to have to order a smaller one, or I'm just going to kind of raw dog it off the battery and go from there. So the cell phone charger is running right off the battery, but the cell phone charger also doubles as a trickle charger, and I have it routed through here. So if for some reason I want to charge the bike up or something, I have a way to do that by just disconnecting this and then just plugging one end into a trickle charger, and then the other end just dangles there until it's ready to ride again. Then you just plug it back in. So yeah, all right, cool. Not much else to really mention real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and get these engine guards put on along with the skid plate, and then we are going to move along from there. Okay, got a quick update again for you guys. Got the skid plate installed, as you can see. Nice Royal Enfield logo right there. That's the Rally skid plate. It wasn't until after I bought this skid plate that a lot of people had actually recommended that you buy engine guards that stick out just as far as the tank does. So like these stick back like a few inches, but a lot of people were like, buy them where they stick out more. That way if you lay the bike down, it's easier to pick it up. But I didn't really do that, and I figured if I lay it down, this thing's not crazy heavy. It's not like we're dealing with a Honda Africa Twin or something like that. That thing, weighs like 600-700 pounds fully loaded. So there's kind of that part of it. Yeah, so that's fully installed, ready to go. Everything on the bars is all completely done. We got everything dialed in up there just the way I want it. Yeah, I kind of got the fender sticker bombed a little bit. It looks kind of neat. That thing looks freaking nice, doesn't it? Pretty cool. And then I just installed the folding shift lever as well. So I'm probably going to have to make some adjustments to it before we obviously set off on the trip. But that's not a huge deal. Yeah, so then there's two final things left to do. One of which is obviously install our Shinko Adventure Trail tires, because these guys are not going to cut it. These are mostly like a 80% on-road, 20% off-road tire. I've ridden trails with these tires before, and she's a little sketchy. So I'm not going to be utilizing these stock tires. Might even try and sell them too, because I don't see myself going back to an 80-20 once I have a 60-40 on there. So those are supposed to be 60% off-road, 40% on-road, but I'm probably going to be riding them 60% on-road, 40% off-road, maybe even a little less than that. So those are going to get a lot of like actual pavement miles. So we'll see how they do. But they had a lot of people, again, budget ADV bill, but a lot of people were saying these Shinkos were awesome tires to run for the money. Like they're saying they're a really hard tire to beat. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, let's give them a shot. I think they'll work out just fine. Actually need to build a full duffel bag pan that's going to sit back here. So I have a couple of ideas for that. I got some stainless shelving that I might try and whip up really quick. Let me show you that really quick. But this is kind of it right here. I got some stainless steel shelving. This is just scrap that I acquired, and I can, it's pre-bent. As you can see, it's got a bend down here, and then it's got a bend up here. So it makes like the perfect kind of pan. I figured if a guy could chop whatever we need off of that, and then we can drill holes through it and secure it down to the back of that bike and maybe just clean up these edges so they don't stick out, puncture, we could definitely make an awesome duffel bag pan. I have a couple of different versions of that stainless, so we're going to try to make something real quick out of that, bolt it down to the existing spots, and then I'm going to try and take some, I think I got some thick flat stock that I can use to make the post, put a bend on the bottom of it, build a post off of it, and then that is what I can attach my backrest to. And then once that whole pan is made, I'll make the pan probably about out to each rack on each side, and then that way it'll be nice and wide. It'll probably be like, oh, I don't know, probably 15 to 18 inches wide. And then if I ever fully pack these bags and they're fully extended up, or in the future, if I ever decide to get some hard cases, the hard cases won't hit my pan invention. So Royal Enfield, I think they wanted like $140 or something like that for the upgraded cargo rack with passenger backrest. And I thought that was ridiculous because I have the materials laying around to make one, and this cost me $12. So $12 and included hardware. It's not perfect, it's not beautiful, but I don't need perfect and beautiful. I need something that is going to be big, because the Royal Enfield one is only like slightly larger than the existing rack. It's only like that much on each side. So I figured if I make like a whole pan that's literally boom all the way over to here, and then with my own post and then sissy bar back here, be perfect for her. And that is going to be exactly what we're looking for. And then I will acquire probably either another Rhino Walk duffel bag, or Viking Bags makes a top one as well that's all waterproof and everything. So this is getting super close, guys. I'm really fired up to get this thing done. But let me move on to getting this pan design, and then I'll come back to you once I got something fired up here. All right. So check this out. I made a duffel bag pan out of that stainless steel stuff that I was kind of telling you guys about. So this turned out really nice. I basically took like a really big wire wheel, cleaned it up really good, drilled holes. This already had pre-drilled slots in it. This will work really good, I think, for straps. So if I have to like run a strap through here and around to the side, unfortunately, it doesn't have it on this other side, but I don't know. I don't think it's a huge deal. I mean, the racking down here, I may make a good anchor point or whatever, and I can run straps up through here or whatever. So that turned out really nice. Just spent a little bit of time on it, just kind of cutting it down. I got it dialed into that 17 inches. Pretty much exactly where we want it in terms of width. So that way if my bags need to expand, they don't expand into the tray. So again, use factory hardware. And then on the bottom side, I couldn't reuse this plastic piece here. This normally sits on top of the factory cargo rack. It's recessed. So the bolts that I have, if I would have put that underneath it, these bolts wouldn't have seated. So I just drilled these out just a pinch bigger, just so that way these could be recessed. Now this is actually relatively flat. So, basically looks just like that. And then I wrapped some hockey tape up along in here, so that way this vibration of this thing moving back and forth isn't going to scratch up the paint on the factory cargo rack. So I think this turned out pretty slick. I'm really happy with it. I know it's not like the prettiest thing on the planet, but my God, it's going to make a massive difference in terms of being able, more capabilities of being able to haul backpacks, duffel bags, tents. I mean, you name it, this thing will be able to handle. And it's, pretty sturdy. So they say the factory cargo rack's about 7 kilograms, which I think is only like 14 pounds. Not a lot of weight, but honestly, they underrate them. You can realistically carry Probably closer to like 80 to 100 pounds on the back of these things. Wouldn't recommend it, but you can, if you need to. You could distribute your weight across the seat, and this, again, turning this way. There's so many different ways we could set this up. It's awesome. Really, really happy with how this came out. But basically, kind of the last step in terms of like the entire bike, minus the tires, we'll get those put on another day. I'm running out of time. It's already like 4-something o'clock. Basically, here's that backrest I showed you earlier. The idea is going to be to mount it something kind of like that. So again, that way in the future or whatever, the wife can come along and we still have enough room in the back for a duffel, potentially for both of us. And then she'll have a little backrest. She prefers a backrest. If she doesn't have a backrest, she's not really interested in riding. It's just a comfort thing for her or whatever. So I try to abide by that. That should be pretty simple to do. I'll probably have to reinforce this a little bit with some thicker steel. I got some 1/4-inch stuff down here that might be a little overkill, but basically I was going to come up with a way to bend up like this and then have it come up, and then this thing will just kind of like bolt right to the back of it, as you can see, just kind of like that. So again, nothing fancy. It's basically, just going to sit like just floating on top of this, just barely, and that's literally all we need. And once we have that, we're good to go. And then it's tires, and then that's pretty much it. So any last minute modifications that I kind of wanted to do that I've just kind of been thinking of as I go, I'd like to get some auxiliary lights, some mounted up somewhere on this tank rack, just in case for some reason I get caught up at night somewhere, or a storm rolls in and it's really dark, or it gets super cloudy. I can get noticed a little bit better, things like that. Because honestly, where I'm going, I have no idea what I am going to encounter. So some auxiliary lights would be awesome to have that on here. And then another thing too, on my last Himalayan, one thing I did was some solid mounted highway pegs off of the engine guards. The way I did it on the old bike was a little bit ghetto. I'm going to do it much better this time. I'll probably either mount them like up here or just somewhere along here. My thought behind that is that this is an 80 adventure riding position. So when your legs come down, they're kind of, like this. If I could get it to where I can move them forward, almost like a cruiser, because I'm obviously used to cruisers. If I could get it to where I could just set them up here, I could alter my footing and stuff like that on the bike while I am riding. So in case I start getting fatigued or tired, I can move my feet around to help make the ride hopefully a little bit more comfortable. They also make really rigid highway pegs too that come off of here, which I remember explaining earlier when I was saying I wish I would have gotten engine guards that stuck out a little bit further. If I get highway pegs that are like of the rigid variety, they can basically just come right off of here. They just clamp right onto this. They come straight off of here, and they make like non-folding ones. So then I could just set it up to where that will just kind of rigidly stick off the side, and that will hopefully help make up a little bit of the distance from the tank guard all the way back down to the engine guard. So that's going to be kind of the goal with that, is to get something like that kind of dialed in as well. So I want lights, and then I want highway pegs for extra footing and a little bit of extra protection just in case that bike comes over for some reason. A little bit more kind of on this trip as well is basically the reason why I'm going all the way to Spokane, Washington, is because I have family that live there. And the idea is that I've never ridden halfway across the country before. The most I've ever done is about 1,100 miles in 4 days. And that was a lot. I should put it like this, to experienced riders that are a lot more experienced than me, that's not a lot. But for me, it was the most I've ever done. So to do something like this is definitely going to be kind of a tall order. Since I've only been riding for 3 years, I only have limited experience in terms of being on the saddle and behind the bars. I am going to have a chase truck. My dad was gracious to volunteer, and he is going to be following me in his pickup or my pickup. We haven't decided that yet. Depends on if this thing fits in the back of his truck or mine. Still got to test all that out yet. But he's going to be following me, and he's actually going to be hauling a lot of the gear. So I'm overbuilding the Himalayan basically to haul more than I'm actually going to need to haul. But the reason why is because if I decide for some reason that I want to dip out on my own on the way back or on the way there, and I want to camp somewhere by myself, I have the bike's equipped for it. It'll be ready for it. I can bring my own little tent and stuff like that, because there is going to be a couple of little areas that I'm going to be hitting that are going to be potentially pretty insane. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Magruder Corridor. I will explain a lot more of that when the time comes. My plan is to leave around July 18th, somewhere in there, and take off and go and see what we can do on the Himalayan. The goal is going to be about 500 miles a day, so that's going to be pretty tough. I mean, maybe doesn't sound that bad. I know I've heard of some YouTubers doing 300 miles a day and then getting a hotel. Me, I'm doing 500 and then getting a campsite. And the other reason why I'm doing 500 a day is because it's not going to be 500 direct miles to where I'm going each day. It's going to be 500 miles of interstates, county roads, gravel roads, trails, you name it. I'm going to figure out alternative ways to get to a lot of these locations. Hence the reason why I need a much beefier tire system than what I have, because I have no freaking idea where I am going at all. And I'm still yet to kind of plan everything out, but I won't get too much into the trip. The only reason why I wanted to bring any of this up was because that is the whole reason why we're building this Himalayan, is so that way we can do this trip on a bike that is actually equipped for it. And am I equipped for it? Dude, I have no idea. Well, we're probably going to end up finding out. So I'm really excited for it. It's going to be really cool, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little nervous. So it's a long ways, and thankfully I'll have my dad within a few hundred miles of me at all times. He's not going to be, when I say chase truck, I don't mean he's going to be right behind me. He's basically, our agreement was we're going to set campsites along a route every single day. And then basically at the end of each day, him and I will meet at that campsite along the way eventually until we hit Spokane, Washington, or at least kind of that area. Basically, yeah, so we'll leave his house around the same time. I might get a head start, get going a little bit early, and then at the end of the day, we'll meet at a campground probably 500 miles away. And then we'll set up camp for the night. We'll have dinner. We'll have shower, like everything. It's going to be a little bougie in a way, but you got to do this kind of stuff when you're as inexperienced as I am. Am I going to do gnarlier runs someday? Absolutely. I got all the motorcycles we could ever need, and these are just a couple of them. I own 9 guys. I own 9 bikes. It's getting ridiculous. You haven't seen probably any of these yet. Maybe you've seen this one on the background. This one I just picked up, and we'll do a video on that one pretty soon. But anyhow, yes, I got plenty of bikes to do this type of thing, but this one right here is the one we chose for the trip. So stay tuned, guys. Really excited to see what comes up from this whole trip. The Himalayan is just about done. I'm not going to video throwing tires on, because if you guys watch my videos in the past, you've seen me do that like at least twice, I'd say. So yeah, I think I can't, I'm really excited to do this. I mean, this is going to be really awesome. So really, whoever wants to follow along, subscribe if you want to. It's free. You don't have to. I'm not going to pressure a guy or gal or whoever you are. But basically, yeah. So thanks for supporting the channel, guys. This isn't really like, like I said, my full-time thing. It's just kind of one of those things where it's like I just do this and stuff just to kind of keep up a little bit with, making memories and documenting them in such a way, because I'm not very good at it typically, and I'm terrible at taking pictures. My wife, kills me over that kind of stuff. But this is going to be an awesome way to document this whole trip. This whole trip's going to get filmed. We're going to do a whole video series or video on it, depending on how much footage I get and if something goes wrong or not. So anyway, I will stop blabbering. Holy crap. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Appreciate you very much, and we'll see you next time.